Market structure, the oscillatory, fractal logic behind price. Market structure is not random, and it is not built from isolated highs and lows. It is constructed from cycles, or more precisely, oscillations, repeating waves of contraction and expansion that form the underlying architecture of price. Each cycle is composed of 3 waves, and each wave is not just a simple move. Every wave is itself a smaller fractal cycle, nested inside the larger one it builds. This creates a multi-layered hierarchy of repeating structures, where the same blueprint appears on every time frame. Dynamic equilibrium, the rotating center of price. These oscillations represent price rotating in a circular, parabolic motion around something called a dynamic equilibrium. This equilibrium is not a fixed number. It is a constantly shifting zone, a temporary balance between time and price, adjusting in real time as new liquidity enters the market. Most traders think of a midline or fair value as static. But in reality, equilibrium is alive. It moves. It breathes. It recalculates with every price update. Frequency, the internal pressure of the market. Every oscillation is defined by its frequency. Frequency is what determines the character of a cycle. Low frequency contraction. Price compresses, volatility drops, cycles get tighter. High frequency expansion. Price accelerates outward, volatility increases, cycles stretch. A powerful way to understand this is frequency equals internal market pressure. When internal pressure rises, the market expands. When pressure weakens, the market contracts. This simple idea explains why price behavior changes so dramatically from one phase to another. Energy transfer between cycles, how small cycles influence big ones. The expansion or contraction of a cycle is not random. It represents a transfer of energy. When a small cycle begins to oscillate with higher frequency, that increased pressure doesn't stay isolated. It resonates outward, pushing momentum into larger structural layers. This is the key idea. A high-frequency expansion inside a small cycle can trigger larger expansions in higher time frame cycles. This cascade effect creates the illusion that the higher time frame suddenly comes alive, when in reality, the energy formed earlier on the micro-level. The fractal law, Mandelbrot's framework in price. This behavior follows exactly the principles described by Benoit Mandelbrot. Markets are fractal. Patterns repeat at different scales. Small fluctuations can influence large structures through resonance. Because of this, the market does not need separate rules for each time frame. The same oscillatory pattern repeats infinitely, only the frequency changes. This is why a 1-minute chart, a 1-hour chart, a weekly chart, all display the same structure, just with different energy levels and different cycle sizes. Liquidity as the driving force behind oscillations. The rotational, parabolic motion around equilibrium is not just a visual pattern. It is the result of liquidity forces. Price is constantly pulled toward areas where orders accumulate. These zones act like gravitational centers. Price travels outward, exhausts itself, and then is pulled back inward to rebalance. This repeating push and pull creates the circular oscillations around equilibrium. Expansion equals price moving away from liquidity. Contraction equals price returning to liquidity to rebalance. Without liquidity, oscillations would not exist. Time frame scaling, the blueprint stays, only frequency changes. In technical analysis, you can observe this phenomenon directly. When you shift to higher time frames, the frequency expands. The cycles become larger, but the shape, pattern, and structure remain identical. This is the core principle. The market always uses the same blueprint. Only the scale changes, never the structure. The result is a perfect fractal hierarchy. Microcycles create energy. This energy transfers. Higher cycles expand. Liquidity rebalances. The oscillation restarts. Endlessly. On every time frame. With the same internal logic. Summary: the deep structure of market movement. Market structure is not built from candles, highs, lows, or patterns. It is built from oscillations, 3-wave cycles, dynamic equilibrium, market frequency, internal pressure, energy transfer between cycles, Liquidity, gravity. Fractal repetition. This system forms the real, underlying logic that governs all price movement, from the microsecond to the monthly chart.